Howard Beck of Bleacher Report here, and let's get to your piece inside Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving's plot to team up in Brooklyn. I mean, what a fascinating inside look. Best guess from what you're reporting is pinpoint the time where they did look at each other and say, let's do this.
Well, as I understand it, and what I was told and what I reported is that the conversation began as early as last summer. They've become friends over the last couple of years, but last summer is where the idea really picked up steam between them that, hey, we should try to play together. And, they knew they were going to be in free agency at the same time, so that would be possible. They could make that decision together. They knew that a bunch of teams were angling for cap room. They knew that they had certain potential destinations in mind that would appeal to both of them. And as I was told it, Boston was even on the table. Now, Boston wouldn't have had cap room, and obviously things went sour in Boston for Kyrie. But as of last summer, before that happened, that was among the discussion points. And so as the season progresses and things obviously weren't going so well in Boston for Kyrie, and KD still was, of the belief that it was time for him to move on from the Warriors no matter how this season ended. And they were really evaluating their options. And the Knicks and Nets were both considered attractive to them because they both liked the idea of being in New York. But it became more apparent over time. The Nets had a foundation and a plan and a vision and forward progress, and the Knicks had none of that. And so at some point in the middle of the season, they concluded, pending any other things happening, it's going to be Brooklyn where we're going to both go.
All right, so then let me just dive into that a little bit more, if you don't mind there, Howard, because, I think you know my stance on the Knicks and their owner, James Dolan. I think you're familiar with it. I mean,
I am.
Okay. How much did that play into the fact that Durant and Kyrie moved to the Nets side of things as opposed to the Knicks? Because I saw Kyrie's Instagram from the Brooklyn Bridge, and coupled that with Harvey Arden's great piece in the New York Times talking about how growing up in New Jersey, he did, in fact, see that 2003 championship run that fell short against the Spurs, and that he says that he's always been pining for the Nets. I mean, put this all together here, Howard.
It's interesting, and I don't want to be overly cynical about this. And Kyrie certainly tugged on the heartstrings for anybody who's a Nets fan or anybody who just grows up on a team and says, that's the team I want to play for. That's all fine, and I don't believe that he's being disingenuous at all about his fondness for the Nets.
He is from Jersey. I mean, he is from New Jersey.
Right.
So
right, and I'm not going to dismiss that at all. However, if the Nets had stumbled through this season, if it didn't all go well, and if it were the Knicks, in fact, that had the better year and the better young core, then he'd be walking the other way on the Brooklyn Bridge in the same Instagram, right? Like, they made the decision, KD and Kyrie, I think, based mostly on basketball, to their credit, which was the Nets offered them the better map to contention. The Knicks could not. And the stuff about the Nets and the sentimentality, it's all real, but I still think he would have snubbed the Nets for the Knicks if the situations were reversed with those two franchises. As to James Dolan, I don't know that I've asked this question many times over the years of people, of players and agents. How often do you pay attention to the owner, the front office, all these other things that are not immediately apparent? Do you consider who you're entrusting your career to? And it depends on the agent, depends on the player, but it's not always discussed. I don't know if Kyrie and KD discussed James Dolan by name, but I will say this. When you ask, is he responsible for this outcome? Of course he is, because the ill state of the Knicks is a direct result of Jim Dolan's inability to run this franchise in a healthy way for 20 years. And, he's lurched from one administration to the next, one team president to the next, one coach to the next, one plan to the next. And even in the 2 years that Steve Mills has been on the case, they have shifted direction multiple times. Dolan is ultimately responsible, obviously, even if they didn't specifically think of him as they made their decision.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.